this is Mike Martin. I'm from Virginia, and I've got a new channel I'm starting up called Piddling Around the Yard with Mike. So, I'm going to give you a quick overview of where I'm at. This is the start of everything. So let me give you a quick overview of the property and kind of some ideas of what we're going to be doing. Piddling around the yard it's mostly going to be gardening stuff. I do a lot of flower gardening and vegetable gardening, stuff like that, but it's other projects around the yard as well. You know, I've got a fence to build and some other things, so I'm going to post all of that stuff because this is Piddling Around the Yard. It's anything I might do outside in the yard, around the house. So I'll be posting videos. I'm going to try to post on a regular basis, and so you can keep up with what I'm doing around the yard, and hopefully it will be inspirational for you to do stuff around your yard, and maybe you'll just have some fun with me as we see some progress as we go along. All right, so let's go. All right, so I figured, hey, Diamond and Rio. So my little helpers out here. There's Rio, and Diamond's around here somewhere. There's Diamond. So Diamond and Rio help me out in the yard. I just hope that they stay out of the street. Okay, so let's get started out front here, and I'm gonna turn this around real quick and show. So the first thing is, this is one of my flower beds. It's right out in the front near the road, you can see. And this flower bed is over 60 feet long. It's probably a good 15 feet wide, maybe wider. And the thing is, I'm going to be making a little bit smaller because there used to be a tree clear out here, and it fell down and is gone, and I pulled the stump out years ago. So, and now it's just, this bed contains a lot of, there's liriope out on the hill in the front near the road. All the way across, all the way down, there's liriope. It's a ground cover. There's daylilies, there's daffodils, there's peonies, there's all kinds of flowers planted out in this flower bed. This is the middle of winter, so it doesn't look as great. But I want to shorten this up because since that tree is gone, I'm going to shorten it up so that the bed ends up here near these trees. These are dogwoods, and I'm going to shorten it up so the bed ends up here. All the rest of this over here, I'm going to have to dig up and relocate and then be able to plant some grass. So that'll be a project. As we come across the yard, hey, Diamond and Rio, let's go. So as we come across the yard, as I said, there's lots of flowers and bushes and everything up through here. These are yucca plants. So if you ever need something that you can't kill, get some yucca plants and make sure you put them in a place that you'll never worry about having them because you can't pull them out. I've relocated these plants many times and they still grow back. But as you come across this hill, I'm trying to move all my yucca plants out on the front hill near the road because that way they can grow all they want out there. But up here I also have a bunch of, this is a hydrangea garden I'm starting here. I can fit probably anywhere between 12 and 15 hydrangea plants will be in here eventually. So that'll be a project. In the center here, this is another flower bed that I started. It's filled with wood chips right now just to get the soil prepped. And then in between, kind of in between the side over here where the swing set is and the bed, this pathway is actually a pathway that I left because this is how I bring my truck back to the back to get in the backyard towards the vegetable garden and stuff back there. So if I need to bring my truck into the back, then I will come across this pathway. As we go closer to the house, what you'll see, well, it's hard to see in the wintertime, but this is my rose garden here by the fence. It comes from the fence, and it goes all the way along the sidewalk here, past this tree, all the way to the little stone pathway. All of this is rose garden. So I will have over 20 rose bushes. I think I have 16 right now. That's the plan with that. And then this here is just another flower bed. It is way overgrown. You can see all the liriope ground cover there, and I have to pull a lot of that out. The bushes will stay. This one on the end here is a pussy willow tree, and that'll stay. But I do need to move. This is a hydrangea. It's going to move over to the hydrangea garden. And then I also have another hydrangea here, the vanilla swirl. That will move over to the hydrangea garden as well. That's currently in the rose garden. If I go over here down to my shed, there's another flower bed here. This one is also significantly overgrown. It's got a ton of daffodils. I estimate there's over 5,000 daffodils in this bed alone. And there's so many that they're just bubbling up. The bulbs are bubbling up out of the ground. So I'm starting to dig them up and move them. Spread those out a little bit. If you need daffodils, let me know. I've got plenty. In addition, I also have on the far side, there's a bunch of irises, and those are having the same problem. They're starting to bubble up out of the ground because there's so many irises over there. But that's that flower bed. And then we move over to the backyard. So if we move over into the backyard, you'll see I've got a couple of beds right here next to the driveway. I use these as vegetable beds now. I used to have flowers in there, but I've been using them as vegetable beds. But you can see there's a couple of, right there, yucca plants that came back. You can tell I used to have yucca plants in here, and I dug them up. I've dug them up for 3 years now, and they continue to come back. But I had squash and onions and garlic in here last year, so that's what that is. Alright, so in addition to the vegetables and flower gardens, I also grow some trees. This here is a fig tree. This is actually the first tree that actually has done well in this spot, so the fig tree is growing really nice. Way out in the front, I forgot, I also have a couple of cherry trees that I planted out there. Those are newer. They've only been there a year, so I've just got to continue to watch them. Down here in the back, I've got my grapevines. Most of these are a Norton grape. That's a native Virginia grape. Norton was originally planted by Thomas Jefferson and in Virginia. And then way over here on the end of the grape trellis is they're green eating grapes. But most of these right up in this area is Norton grapes. They grow pretty well. Down here in this part of the yard, you can see I've got a wood chip bed that runs all the way around here. This is a bed that I'm planting with trees. This one tree here, this is a pear tree. It's growing really well, but it needs to be pruned and trimmed back, and the dogs are going crazy again. I don't know what they're chasing. But I also have 3 peach trees and an apple tree and another pear tree over here. So got all those trees growing. So then I'm going to have to get the dogs inside the fence because they tend to wander into the woods. So hold on. All right. So now I'm inside the fence. I had to put this fence up. It's kind of temporary. It will become permanent at some point. But the dogs, see, they like to run and play in the back. But Rio's kind of newer. He wanders into the woods, and a little while ago he wandered in the woods. Diamond followed him. Diamond got bit by a tick and got sick, and the vet bill was more expensive than the fence I just put up. So now I have a fence to keep them from going in the woods. So that's what all this is. Trying to keep them. Wow, about fell down there. So let's go up in the backyard towards the garden now. So I come up here to the garden. This part of the garden fence here is for growing. Last year I had squash and cantaloupe growing up on this fence. I'm going to have some more beans and peas, and this is all like a trellis for growing vegetables on this part of the fence. I constructed these raised beds in the past couple years. The wooden ones here, these are all, they're non-treated wood, and then I took and used a torch to burn it. That's called Shoshone method. It basically is a method of drying the wood and treating it so that it doesn't rot as fast. So it should cause it to last a couple years longer. The reason I used untreated wood has nothing to do with whether or not the treated wood has chemicals in it. It has all to do with the fact that I got all the untreated wood free. So I will take a whole bunch of free 2x12s to make raised beds all day. So I do have a couple of metal raised beds. The one over here is a tall one. Eventually I want to replace all these with taller raised beds, just because it makes it easier to garden, not in having to kneel down. And this raised bed over here has asparagus in it, and also usually put a couple of tomato plants in there. But 6 raised beds for now. There will be more hopefully later. Then up here and above the raised beds, I've got this pad. It used to be an old metal shed that got torn down. And my plan is to put a greenhouse over top of all this. The greenhouse will be much larger than that pad, but that's the plan over here. If I come over here next to the house, I've got a strawberry patch inside here. I have a little fence here to try to keep the dogs out. They love to climb through the garden. And then over by the fence, I've got blueberry and elderberry bushes growing. You can see where the stakes are. Those are 3 elderberry and 3 blueberry bushes for now. I'm going to try to propagate those so that I can expand. I want to continue to grow more of those bushes all the way up this fence, clear up in there until I get into the more shaded area. Most of this fence is in the sun most of the day because of the way the sun travels. You see, I got a lot of boxes. I got plenty of boxes. We have no way to recycle boxes in our area. So my only use for boxes is either I have to burn them, or I send them to the landfill, or what I use them mostly for, I just store them down here, but I use them underneath all these wood chips. So my whole garden area is covered in wood chips, and underneath the wood chips I put the boxes. And even in the garden, preparing for winter, I put the boxes down. You can probably, let's see if you can, no, it's kind of frozen, but there's a piece of a box there the dogs dug up. But I usually cover it with the cardboard and then put the mulched leaves over top of it for the winter. That helps protect the garden and keep weeds from growing in there over the winter. But that's basically the yard. Eventually, one of the projects I'm going to have to do is replace this fence. This fence is over 25 years old, and while it looks, besides this section here, which is missing a board, the rest of it is about as good as that part of the fence. I mean, it's falling down. You can't really tell, but if you get up there and pull on it, it'll fall down. So that fence is going to need replaced. I also am planning a more permanent fire pit right in this area with seating and everything. So I am planning that. So I do have a lot of projects planned, but that's where the property stands right now. So like I said, there is not a lot of stuff going on right now. It's December, so I don't have a lot of stuff going on, but I do have a lot of stuff planned. next couple weeks it's supposed to warm back up, so I am going to get to some projects out here. I have to prune trees and bushes because my hydrangeas need moved, and now's a good time to move them when they're dormant. So I'm going to be doing a whole video on moving those hydrangeas. If I can, I'm going to dig up a bunch of those daffodil bulbs and move them. We'll see how that goes. I have to do some pruning of all the trees. That pear tree is just out of hand. I planted it 5 years ago and I haven't really done anything with it. So the goal is this year to get it cut back to where it needs to grow and then work with it that way. So I need to do that. Then it's just a lot of cleaning up brush. I have some other trees I need to either cut down or trim up. I have a bunch in the front that I need to trim, but there is some dead ones in the back that I need to just cut down before they fall down. Although when they fall down, it's much easier. We had a nice oak tree in the front bed that fell down, and that worked out really well. But I hope you will continue to watch, and I hope you'll follow the channel, subscribe. You can put some comments down, give me some ideas, let me know what you think. And if you're getting in early on this is the first video for the channel. And I hope to start posting on a real regular basis, and hope to hear from you. All right, thanks.